since the vibration of my source energy is always up here, and since my vibration might be up here and might not, I control the contrast. If I let go of what I'm worried about and my vibration rises, then there's no contrast. But if I'm like a dog on a bone trying to fix some problem and focused upon what's wrong, then I'm introducing contrast by my introduction of my resistant thought to my own desire. How often do you want something and you believe the opposite? And what is a belief? A belief is just a thought that you continue to think. And why do you continue to think that thought? Because law of attraction keeps it active. So how do you get around that? There are a couple of ways. You could meditate, which means quiet your mind, which means the resistant thought subsides and then your vibration rises. Or you could daydream or appreciate, or you could get a lobotomy. You see, Esther's trying to decide whether she should ask them to tear a big hole in the roof and put big support beams into the roof that should have been there that have never been there, and shore that roof line up and shore those smokestacks up. Or what's the path of least resistance, to shore it up or to take the smokestacks down? And what we want Esther to understand is that those are not questions that she should be asking right now, because nothing about any of those questions does anything other than introduce extreme resistance into her equation. So she thinks, I have only two choices: leave them up or take them down. We say, no, there's another one. Don't think about it. That's so hard. It seems like I should think about it. It seems like I'm responsible. It seems like I should think about it. And we say, that's because you're not factoring in the fact that we're all thinking about it. You don't feel supported and guided. You don't trust that the universe is dealing with this. You haven't seen, you're not looking right now at the sequence of events that's even brought this to your attention. In other words, you're forgetting the well-being of your life experience, and you're choosing to be responsible and do the right thing. So choose this bad thought or this bad thought. There's no good scenario here. In either case, they have to make a big hole in the roof. In either case, they've got to bring a crane. In either case, great big beams have to be put into that roof line. In other words, it doesn't feel like there's any good choices from Esther's fearful place. But from our advantage point, they're all good places. Men get to play with a crane. They get to bring those cranes up there. They get to do things that they're good at doing. They get to figure stuff out. They get to work on this awesome house. They get to make a lot of money doing it. They get to please Esther. You see what we're getting at? You got to decide that you want to feel good, and then find the thoughts that do feel good. And how do you know what thoughts feel good if there aren't any thoughts that don't feel good? Without resistance, how would you know? If your inner being weren't thinking a thought that is different than the thought that you're thinking, you couldn't even have negative emotion. Stay with that for a moment. If your inner being weren't knowing your success on whatever it is, then you couldn't even have negative thought. You still there? So doesn't that mean that your negative thought is proof that there is positive thought? Doesn't the very fear itself mean that there's big guns on the job? That the energy that creates worlds is really focused on this? Because if it weren't, you couldn't feel that fear. You see what we're getting at? So we want you to feel that it's only when you oppose what your inner being knows about the specific subject that's active within you that you ever would feel positive or negative emotion. When you feel positive emotion, it means your inner being's all over this thought just like you are. When you feel negative emotion, it means your inner being's all over this thought but has a very different vantage point than yours. Don't you like knowing that? Do you feel blessed enough to let yourself feel good? You can trust the non-physical in the sky. You can trust your non-physical counterparts. You can trust the worthiness of your being. You can trust the blessedness of your being. You can trust that things are working out for you. You can just decide whether you want to help or hinder. We just want you to get out of the way of the well-being that's happening on your behalf. We want you to be less involved in fixing things and more involved in trusting that well-being is happening.